This video is to show you how to do the simple Tunisian coaster. These coasters are small enough that they can be worked with a regular crochet hook. You don't need a Tunisian crochet hook. The hook I'm using is a 5mm H8 hook. And I'm using worsted weight cotton yarn by Lily Sugar and Cream. The intent of this project is to provide practice in making a perfect square with the Tunisian simple stitch. This is in preparation for working the Tunisian Pinwheel Square pattern, which is available in my Ravelry and Etsy stores. Getting the correct ratio of stitch height to stitch width is crucial for any two-color square in Tunisian simple stitch where the colors are separated along the diagonal. Achieving this ratio correctly does take some practice. Let me show you examples of different results based on different types of tension. The square on the, well, it's actually a rectangle. The piece on the left is a rectangle, and this piece was worked with a loose tension on the forward pass, which is the one that provides the vertical bars, and a less loose tension on the return pass, which produces the horizontal stitches. On the other hand, this square, it is a perfect square. I measured it and it's 3 inches by 3 inches, was worked with a less loose, a tighter tension on the forward pass, so we have much shorter vertical bars. See the difference in the sizes of the vertical bars? And it was also worked on the return pass with a wider stitch or a looser tension. Now, I just want to clarify that this particular type of tension is wonderful for certain projects. It's great for scarves, sweaters, blankets, because it's supple, it's soft, loose, and it gives you very nice drape. However, for this pattern, we want to accomplish a denser stitch, and we definitely want to accomplish a perfect square where all the sides equal the same number. Notice that the dense Tunisian crochet can be used for a hot pad. In fact, this is a larger piece that is potentially great for a hot pad because it's so thick and dense. Now let me show you why it's important to get your tension correct on this project. Actually, the simple Tunisian coaster is nothing more than a gauge swatch with a couple of rounds of single crochet added. But the gauge swatch of the simple coaster, which is just a solid color with 2 border rounds, is preparing you to accomplish a perfect square when you have 2 colors that are divided along the diagonal of the square. The square on the left is really not a perfect square. It's an odd shape. Can you see that along the diagonal there's it's a greater measurement? It's stretched out. You see how it's stretched out along the diagonal compared to the square? This is the result, this wonky square is the result of using the looser tension on the forward pass and the tighter tension on the return pass. It gets you a rectangle here and a wonky square here. On the other hand, if you can get your tension such that you can make a perfect square, then you will also have a perfect square when you work the two-color square. The two-color square is worked as a decreasing triangle, and then you turn it this way and work an increasing triangle to finish it off. And it's very important that you get your tension correct, otherwise you will end up with a wonky shape. So let me demonstrate. All right, we start with a slip knot. Chain 11. Make sure the chains are somewhat loose because the chains provide the first horizontal row. The horizontals need to be looser, the verticals need to be short. Let's see how many we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I need 2 more. 10, 11. Turn the chain over and work into the back bumps. We're going to skip the first back bump and work into the rest. And count the loops on the hook. We should have 11. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Yarn over, pull through to chain 1, make the chain a short chain because that's the vertical, and then yarn over and pull through 2 with looser tension because these are the horizontal stitches of the square. Now for the forward pass of row 2, insert the hook, keep it close, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull up a loop, that is. Insert hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. Repeat that, keeping the hook close to the fabric, not yanking up. And on the last stitch, insert under the 2 loops on the side of that chain stitch. Yarn over and pull through, and now we're ready to go back the other direction. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Okay, first stitch is a chain 1. The rest of the stitches are the horizontal return row. So we use a looser tension on these. And the first 2 rows are finished. All right, I have worked 10 rows, and let's count them to make sure. I count along the side, so I'm counting the V stitches along the side, not counting the loop, the loose loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, the 11th row is the closing row for this little square, and we're going to do slip stitches all the way across. So insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, and this time we want a tall loop, and then we're doing a slip stitch. The reason we want a taller loop is because that slip stitch ends up being a horizontal stitch, and remember we're wanting the wider horizontal stitches to keep this project square. Also, we're going to be working into those stitches when we work the border round. Now, if you wish, you can do a slip stitch into that last stitch, or you can close it with a needle join. Either way, the pattern calls for a needle join. So let's do that. Okay, I'm pulling out the slip stitch. So I have completed 9 stitches across. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And instead of doing the 10th one with a hook, I'm doing it with a needle. So I pull the tail out of the loop, insert it into a needle, the eye of the needle, and I go in that same place that I would have put the hook. Instead, I'm doing it with a needle, front to back, and then front to back, back into the same stitch where the tail is coming from. So I have just made my last slip stitch of the round, or of the row, with a needle instead of a hook. And then I weave in the ends. Okay, now we have completed the square. And let's measure that to make sure it's really square. Okay, 3 inches that way and 3 inches that way. So that gives us a perfect square. Because we had the short tension, or the tighter tension on the short verticals and the looser tension on the horizontals on the return pass. Now let's work the first border round. I start in any corner, pull up a loop, and make a chain. And that first chain equals a single crochet. Now we're going to work in the next 9 stitches, a single crochet in each one. Let's count the bottoms of the stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And because we are going to make a corner, we put a second single crochet in the last stitch. So we worked into 10 stitches, but the last one we worked 2 single crochets. Okay, so now we'll rotate the square and do the same thing. The first 10, well, we'll work into 10 stitches, a single crochet in each one, and then add a single crochet to the last stitch. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, wait a minute, I'm going to count the bottoms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Perfect. Okay, now I'm rotating, and sometimes I count from the end to make sure I start in the correct place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, good. So we start right there. Okay, I'm ready for the last stitch of the last side. Let's count how many we've done so far. I'm counting the bottoms of the stitches, the V's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I've got one place left to work my last 2 stitches. Okay, and I've already got 1 stitch in that same place. I'm sorry, doesn't look right. Okay, I made a mistake. So I pulled out the last 2 stitches to show you what I did wrong. I need to pull this apart so that you can see these holes. I tried to put my last 2 stitches right there where the first stitch was, and that's wrong on this round. Instead, that is the hole I need to go into. It's really tiny. At least the way I did it, it's tiny. Hopefully it won't be tiny when you do it. But anyway, we need 11 stitches on each side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now let's check this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, now we've got it. So now I'm going to finish with another needle join. I especially value needle joins in places like this, where there's a contrasting color and we're working on the corner. It just makes a nice, neat finish. Now for the needle join, I'm not working in that. That is the chain stitch we started with. I don't want to work in that. Instead, I work under these 2 strands, the V at the top of the first single crochet. Let's see, doesn't that look nice? And then turn it over, and I'm going to go through just this one loop here, and then take out the needle and tie these 2 strands in a gentle knot, and then tie them again in a more snug knot. Snugger. Is snugger a word? And I can either work over these tails for the next round, or I can weave them in, whatever you prefer. Okay, so let's use a contrasting color for the last border round. And by the way, if you wanted to make this your project, that would work too. But I like having 2 colors for 2 rounds of border for 2 colors. If you want to, you can use a different color, or you can go back to the same color as the major part of the square. So any corner that you want to start, work into the second of the 2 single crochet stitches that are in that corner. Pull up a loop, chain, and that equals a single crochet. Now in the corner stitches on this round, there will be 3 stitches in each corner. But I'm not going to put 3 in here now, I'm putting 2. So the first one is the chain, and the second one is a single crochet. Then I work a single crochet in every stitch to the next corner. Okay, and then in the corner, which is the second of the 2 single crochets in the corner, we work 3 single crochets. Well, I'm back around to the first corner, and look, I forgot to work over my white ends, so I'll just have to weave those in. Okay, so remember I said each corner has 3 single crochets, and we actually have 2 single crochets in the first corner. Actually, the first one is a chain, which counts as a single crochet. So I add 1 more single crochet in that corner, snip, pull, thread it in the needle. Remember, we're going to do a needle join, but not in the first chain, but we're doing it in the first single crochet. On the back, tie the tails in a gentle knot and in a snug knot, and all that's left is to weave in the tails. I won't make you watch me do that. There we have our swatch that became a coaster. Thank you for watching.